like you're starting, we're going to be discussing the NX cartridges. That's what's on the agenda.
See, there was some news that came out because of a little Japanese developer called Micronauts. And what they were talking about, get this, I think this is pretty cool. At least in my book. But the Chinese company that produces ROM chips for the 3DS cartridges, its chairman said during a campaign financial briefing, financial briefing, next quarter will be just as strong, or if not better, because of the NX launch. Now, discs are usually around 50 to 60 gigabytes, right? And with Blu-ray, come to find out, it kind of runs slower than what regular DVDs did. Now, we know SD cards and USBs are running anywhere from 32 gigs or higher up into the 60s. So even more than most of these discs. So, is it a good idea to go back to cartridge, or is it not? What do you think about that there, Combaget?
Sorry, I was muted so that I didn't like talk while you were talking. I mean, I think so. Cartridge gaming, I feel like it's kind of on par with disc gaming. However, I think it'll be more versatile. Like, you can't really take a disc with you when you want to go somewhere, whereas like with the Nintendo DS, you know, you can pop your little cartridge in there. And I think, don't they have a like a converter thing that you could put the DS, I'm sorry, I've had a long day, guys, that you can put the DS game into and then continue to play it on a different Nintendo console? I forget what those are called.
They've done those with the regular Game Boy. They did that with the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
And then they did that with the GameCube and the Game Boy Advance. They have not, I don't think, and I have a Wii U, but I don't think they've done that with like the Wii U and the 3DS.
Okay.
But,
see, I wasn't sure because I haven't ever played. Well, I mean, outside of when we've had like gaming parties at your house, like I haven't ever played any of those consoles. And so I was like, well, I remember, back in the day that's always been kind of Nintendo's theme, was to create a larger cartridge that you could put smaller cartridges in and still continue to play the same game.
Right, which was innovative at the time. It's like, I can play this on the big screen at my house now. And I really dug that. I had a Super Game Boy adapter. I also had the one for the GameCube, and it came in really handy. Another cool thing that I think personally is, like, with cartridges, they can't get scratched, and with a cartridge, it would like literally almost eliminate the download time, like loading time alone. But then you wouldn't have to download games either.
Yeah, because I mean, I know that with my Xbox One, and I don't know that PS4 players run into this. So you guys, if you're watching and you're a PS4 player, I do apologize, but I just don't know. But I know, and I was talking to you a little bit about this the other day. When I had downloaded the Master Chief Collection, I misspoke because that one was actually a download code that came with my Xbox One. But even when I installed games like the Handsome Collection from Borderlands, where it was, Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel together, one of those games would take a good couple of hours to download, and it's a disc. Like, it's complete nonsense to have that kind of wait time when you have a physical copy of the game in your console.
Yeah.
So I think that moving it back to cartridges, for the fact that, it is kind of, so to speak, a plug and play, meaning that once it's in the console, you can play it in its entirety without having to worry about downloads. And that's actually the way that it was in the past, in Xbox 360 and PS3. But I don't know. Like, it's one of those things. I do agree on the scratching, though, because if you guys remember, all we had to do was kind of like blow out the cartridges and then they would work just fine. So that would be a lot more convenient.
Yeah, and you wouldn't even have to do that anymore with the blowing, since we don't have to do that with USBs or SD cards.
Yeah.
The 3DS games.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be a lot more reliable, that's for sure, and easier to take with you to like your friend's house. You don't have to.
I really think that if they moved it to like it was the size of like an entire game on a small USB port, like just a little bitty one, that would be really awesome.
Yeah, you could definitely do that. Like, the 3DS games are tiny. And, of course, there are only, like, about, 20 gigabytes of thing on that. But like I said, most modern games are anywhere from 50 to 68 or so. Some are a little bit higher. But, I mean, modern SD cards and USBs can go just as high, if not higher. So, I don't see that really being a problem.
Right.
Some people might say it's just a throwback. But, honestly, in a day and age we live in where we use USBs and SD cards for everything, I mean, DVDs are going the wayside because of digital media. Everything else
Yeah.
is. It actually makes sense to have a physical copy this way because, like I said, you wouldn't have the loading times that take fucking forever. Downloading the game would never take forever. And you could still, because of modern consoles hooked up to the internet, you would still have patches and DLC and so forth, which we didn't have back in the day when I was growing up with cartridge. So that would be also cool. And that would also mean they would kind of have to finish the games all the way instead of, like we brought up in the last G.G.Talk, like the skate game where they didn't even put half the game on the damn disc. Yeah, see, some patents came out not too long ago for a console from Nintendo, which usually they throw that out right before the new console comes out. Could be anything, but usually that's what Nintendo does. And in this, it showed a controller that was almost like a...
Just kind of what you've touched on, but outside of that, no. But I guess it sounds like you were mentioning that that there's going to be kind of a controller that
Mhm.
will be on the go, but will still let you play your game on console.
Yeah, see, some patents came out not too long ago for a console from Nintendo, which usually they throw that out right before the new console comes out. Could be anything, but usually that's what Nintendo does. And in this, it showed a controller that was almost like a handheld with a screen in the middle of it. And there's been a lot of talks and rumors coming out of Nintendo of it being a hybrid console. Like you were saying, it would attach to the TV, play it there, and then you can take it with you on the go, the controller, and keep playing the game. No hassle, no fuss. So that would be really cool. I would really dig that.
Yeah, it would be nice to see Nintendo try to adopt the concept that that Sony tried to with the PS Vita, where if your console's on, you can now. So this is a little bit different than what PS Vita did because PS Vita, I believe it was it either it's either Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, but
Mm-hmm.
one of the two. It basically you could pick your PS Vita up, but it wasn't connected to your console in the first place. So it was kind of bulky. I mean, you've got your big PS3 or PS4, whichever console you're using, and your PS Vita. But if Nintendo went the concept of if the take the unplug and go controller, the mobile controller, if you want to call it that, actually docked on the console instead, and then the only thing you had to do was undock it and the game was already
Oh,
plugged
yeah.
into it, that would make it so much more convenient, and you wouldn't have to worry about looking like you have two devices that you have to manage. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and you wouldn't even have to worry about pausing and just pick up and go. I think that was a really good concept too for PS Vita. It's kind of a shame that it's not going to keep going,
Yeah,
but
it's just Nintendo in Japan and here in America is the go-to for handheld, sadly.
yeah.
I like when a
So
company actually has competition because we get better technology and games out of it, but just Nintendo has that monopoly, I guess, and always has since the beginning of handhelds.
yeah,
Whether it was
for sure.
Sega or TurboGrafx and now
God, I loved
PS.
that Sega handheld, by the way, when I
Oh, the
was a
Game
kid. That
Gear.
big shit. Oh my God, I
As
loved
big
it.
as a brick, but yeah, it was powerful.
Yes, I always wanted one, and my family was like too poor, and now I like have all these. I've got like 6 Xboxes. No, hold on, I gotta count them. 1, 2, 3. I got 4. My
Oh
bad.
wow, damn.
Yeah, my bad.
You ain't fucking around.
Well, one of them's a limited edition, and the other one's broke. The other one is my backup Xbox, and then my actual one that I
Shit, and
use.
I'm sitting here and I can't even play my disc games. Ain't this a bitch?
My bad.
I gotta get that fixed. But yeah, you're all good. But I think you could be viable, and I don't think it's just a throwback to hit the retro fans. Like, it would be kind of an improvement. Especially since they found out that the Blu-rays are actually kind of slow at reading. The Blu-ray reader itself is somehow, from what I've been hearing and reading, it's actually slower than a regular DVD reader.
Yeah.
So you can get more information on the disc, but it takes longer to read. That's why the load times are worse. And downloading.
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to see what direction Nintendo goes in with this. Sorry, because especially with what we talked about last week with the possibility of like upgradable consoles coming out from Sony and Microsoft. So right now they're kind of code named, but generally they're known as like PS 4.5 and Xbox 1.5. So sorry.
No,
My
you're
phone
fine.
keeps going off. I'm using the chat through my phone, guys, so I do apologize. But like seeing how like what they're going to do to keep up with that, because obviously, I mean, we already feel like I mean, I don't know, maybe you don't, maybe nobody else does, but I kind of feel like that that the Wii was the last like major thing that they came out that Nintendo has come out with, and so they're kind of one step behind
Yeah.
Sony and Microsoft. So maybe this is going to be like their catch up to being on par with those and actually having legitimate competition with them. Now, I do remember though that a couple years ago when they came out with the Wii Fit, that was expected to have a lot of competition.
Yeah.
Like be on par with competition for Sony and Microsoft. But I think that's been it. Like I don't think I've heard anything from Nintendo that's really
how it's gone is with the GameCube, it didn't sell that well. They had really good first party games like Nintendo's always known for, but it was lacking power wise. They didn't have many third party games. They came out with the Wii, and even though it was a novelty, it was a huge hit. It's the biggest selling console basically ever. But no third-party games. That's where it kind of killed them. And the third-party games that did come out for the Wii played to the novelty, and a lot of them really weren't that good. It was all about the first party, really. Right. Wii U comes out, barely any third-party games. You got Bayonetta and a couple others, but not really anything. Mm-hmm. So now, from the rumors is it's supposed to be almost as powerful, if not as powerful, as the Xbox One or PlayStation 4. So,
yeah, so that'd be really, really cool to see, especially. I mean, if they end up coming up with that take and go, I mean, Sony and Microsoft are really going to have to step their game up at that point.
Oh, yeah, because now it's like you can play these exact same games, but in the palm of your hands when you're on vacation or taking a little trip or at work. It's like, damn. It's like, what console would you rather buy it for at that time if you can get all the same games?
That is exactly what we need. Some motherfuckers on Call of Duty Infinite Warfare at work.
Fuck that, Battlefield 1. That's what I'm about to grab.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I said at work, I meant at school.
Oh, yeah.
In 4th grade.
Or both. Okay. You get somebody in that cubicle hiding that little NX controller, just going at it. So I think we basically covered that one.